Do you ever get tired of hearing this noise? Or maybe your passenger is trying to enter your destination into your onboard navigation system, but they can't because your vehicle's in motion. I'm going to show you one possible solution to get around these issues and other nuances in your vehicle. Before we even get started in this video, I do have to warn you, what we're going to be talking about today is changing or updating some settings in your vehicle. This can be a little bit dangerous if you don't do it correctly. If you enter in some wrong data, you could corrupt your vehicle. It may not operate right, or you may break certain things in your vehicle. So I am not telling you to do this. I'm just going to show you something that we did and just kind of give you some options, let you know what's out there and what is possible. Now that you've been warned, let's talk a little bit about modules or vehicle modules. Now, I am not a mechanic, and I am talking strictly in general terms. All vehicles are different, all manufacturers are different, but generally speaking, modules. Modules, you can think of them as holding data or holding configuration data. And there's many modules in a vehicle. Each module can be set for a specific part of your vehicle. You could actually have like a driver's side door module. All it's responsible for is containing configuration or data for the driver's side door. It could be things like, what do the buttons do, or do the windows go down all the way, or can you lock the window, things like that. You can have an instrument panel module. Maybe it has settings for what gauges are displayed. Maybe does it show data in kilometers or miles per hour? Does it show temperatures above gauges? Things like that. So these are what modules do. They're basically just holding data, holding configuration. Now, why would you even use a module? And I think a very good example would be, what this does is it allows these manufacturers to put the same hardware, the same pieces into a vehicle, no matter where it's going to be sold. And this is just an example, but you can use the same hardware and you can configure it in your module settings. Let's say for the United States. Maybe as a very simple example, let's say United States, we're going to have our instrument control module, and we're going to set it to show imperial units or miles per hour. That same piece of hardware, that same control panel, could be installed and shipped to a overseas, let's say in Europe somewhere, and it could be set up to use kilometers per hour. So this way here, the manufacturer can just keep pushing vehicles out using the same hardware and then fine-tune them depending on where they're going to go. And that's just an example. There's many more examples as well. So now that you kind of have a basic understanding of modules, how are we going to change these modules? How are we going to update the settings? This is something we're going to use. It's called, or the app we're going to use is called FORScan. And what it is, it's an application. We're going to attach it via a cable through a OBD port on your vehicle, which is onboard diagnostics port. We're going to use a cable, connect our app to our vehicle, and what this allows us to do is FORScan. It can be used for diagnostics, troubleshooting, looking at values as your engine is running, maybe your RPMs, gauges, O2 sensors. There's a lot you can do with it, but specifically what we're going to talk about today is configuration. How can we change configurations on our vehicles and our modules to allow us to do things like maybe we don't want the seatbelt chime to come on if we forget to put our seatbelt on. How many times have you taken your garbage through a RV park, you get in your vehicle, you throw it up on the hood or in the back, and you're just going to run to the dumpster and empty it? You're not going to put your seatbelt on most likely, and you don't want to hear that ding. So there are ways to get around that and turn that off. That's just one example. There's many things you can do with it. So with that said, let's get in. I'm going to show you FORScan, how to download it, install it, and we'll talk a little bit about the application. Okay, before we make any changes to our vehicle, there's some things or some steps we need to do to get prepared for that. We got to get our hardware and our software set up, and also we want to make sure we back up our existing data. So let's go ahead and start with the hardware. Now, what I purchased this OBDLink cable, and what this is going to do, this is going to attach from our laptop to our OBD connector in our vehicle. Now, the reason why I picked that one was I went to the FORScan website, and if you scroll down here, you'll see these are some of the cables that they recommend. This very first one is the one that I have. You can see it's roughly $60, and they do suggest this, and there's one of the ones that they suggest, and I know that it works because it works for me. So you don't have to purchase it from here. You can buy these from Amazon as well. I think it's about the same price, but this is the link that I have, and you need something to connect this to your vehicle. So this is one suggestion. The next thing we need to do is, again, we're going to go back to the FORScan website. And don't worry about any of these websites or links that I'm going to be talking about today, because I will put a link in the description of the video. So make sure you look down below in the description, and everything will be in there. So don't worry about trying to memorize anything or trying to write stuff down as we go. So next thing we need to do is we need to download the FORScan application. So I'm going to go over here to products. At the time of this video recording, the latest version is version 2.3.60. I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. What this is going to do, it is going to download an executable file. So it's going to, for Windows, which is what I am on, it's going to go to the downloads folder by default. Let's see if this is downloaded yet, if it's done. Okay, so here you can see it downloaded this file, FORScan setup 2.3.60.release.exe. We'll go ahead and double click on this. This is going to start the installation process. We're going to select English for our default language. Oh, I already have one running, so let me go ahead and close that. And we will click OK. Make sure you read the license agreement or end user agreement and accept that and click Next. And then at this point, we would just click Install. Now, I'm not going to actually install it because, as you just saw, I already have one installed. But at this point, just click the Install button, and the application will get installed. And we're just going to cancel out of this. Now, the application is not going to do you much good unless you have a license for it. So we're going to go back to the same FORScan URL or web page where we downloaded the application from, and there's two separate licenses. You can get a free trial license for 2 months, or you can buy the extended license for 1 year. I knew I'd be using this for a while, so I went ahead and purchased the 1 year license. It's only $12 for the whole year, but I'll just make the assumption you're just kind of trying this out. You want to get the free extended license. Again, this is for 2 months. You're going to enter in some of your information, your data, your email, and your hardware ID. And I'm going to show you where this hardware ID is, just in case. So once you downloaded FORScan, you can open up the application, go to the bottom and click on the little steering wheel, and then you will see the hardware ID right here. Okay. So you'll enter in all that information, submit it, and what will happen is in a few minutes you will receive an email with your activation code on it. Okay. Now once you have your activation code, let me go ahead and open up FORScan. Once you have your activation code, again, you can click on the little steering wheel. I already had mine entered, so it's grayed out, but you would enter in your activation code, and you submit it, and you're good to go from there. So while we're here, I'm going to show you just kind of briefly what FORScan looks like. We're not going to be able to show you too much yet because I'm not actually hooked up to a vehicle, but you have this little vehicle here, and what what happens is when you first hook up to your vehicle, you're gonna hit the connect button down here, the connect button icon, and it's going to go through and start reading your vehicle, all your modules, vehicle information. You'll see it starting to scroll through here, and it's just basically reading everything. These next 3 or 4 icons on the left, DTC or diagnostic test codes. That's if you're running into problems, you can test things and try to figure out or troubleshoot. The other ones here, again, are all testing and troubleshooting type screens that it has in here. The one we're going to deal with is this little, looks like a microprocessor button here, and this is for configuring and programming things. Again, we want to configure our modules or update our modules. Little cog, this gear, this is, you're probably not going to need this. I've never had to touch this, but it does give you the option to set up some baud rates, metric or imperial settings, things like that. So honestly, I don't think you'll have to touch this, but that is generally what FORScan looks like, and we'll get back to that after a while. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we've ordered our cable, we have FORScan up and running, or we have it installed, we have a license for it. We need to download some as-built spreadsheets. Now, you have to be careful with this, and I'm gonna another fair warning here. When you're using the as-built spreadsheets, I'm going to show you how to do this in the application. You're dealing with numbers and letters, hexadecimal numbers, hex codes basically. If you make a mistake, you can really mess up your vehicle. You could corrupt a module. It might be something you can fix real quick, or it might be catastrophic. So it is not recommended to use these as-built codes and spreadsheets. But I want to show you how to do it in case you need to. There's another way to do it, which is called the easy mode, and it's lot more user friendly, and it's really hard to mess things up. So I'm going to show you both ways, but again, I will put the links to these spreadsheets in the description. This is for my vehicle, a 2020 F350 Super Duty. I will show you where I got these from. I'll put a link into where I got it from. So if you have a different vehicle, you will have to do your own research and go out and look for spreadsheets for your particular vehicle. So just be aware of that. So now that we have that, here's a spreadsheet. I'm going to show you how to download a spreadsheet. I am on the FordTrucks.com forums, and what I am looking at is I have a 2020 F350. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Now what I did was I actually downloaded a couple different spreadsheets. I really wanted to make sure they both coincided with each other. So they're not by Ford, these are just enthusiasts who went out there and figured all this stuff out and put a spreadsheet out there for everybody to use. So I just kind of wanted one to back up the other, and I feel a lot more comfortable about that. Again, these are very important. So, I'm just going to kind of show you as an example. Here's a spreadsheet. We can see if I can find something here. Here we go. So this is something we'll probably do. I'll probably do this out in the truck. I want to, as an example, disable the driver's seatbelt chime. Okay, I know it's in the IPC control module. This is the address that I will be looking for. These are the numbers that are in that module or in that position, and what they're saying here is we're going to change the second set of numbers, the third number in here, to a number 2. So that's how you would read these. Now, these aren't uniform. This is one particular person did this spreadsheet. Other spreadsheets can look slightly different or very different, but that's how we're reading this. So I will put links to the 2 spreadsheets that I ended up downloading. So now we have our spreadsheets, our application, our cable. Before we make any changes at all, we really want to back up our existing data. Now the reason for this is if you're making changes in here, you mess up really bad, you corrupt something, you have a way to get back and put everything back to the factory defaults. Another example might be you're getting ready to sell your vehicle. You want to put everything back to the factory defaults. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the motorcraftservice.com/asbuilt website or URL. What this does is we're going to enter in our VIN number, submit that, and what that's going to do is that is going to go out and read our VIN number and all the information that was built in our module, all the module data, and it's going to display that on the page and then also give us the option to download it for ourselves. So let's go ahead and we will do this. We're going to submit it. Okay. You can see it came back already. Again, so this here is our BCE module. These are the addresses. This should look a little bit familiar from that as-built spreadsheet we just showed you, addresses, and these are the codes or the values inside each of these addresses. So this is our default as-built data. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to download this file and I'm going to save this file in a safe location. So when I go to sell my my pickup truck, I can take this file, I can import that into FORScan and set everything back as it was when I first bought it. So I have this. If we go back to my downloads directory, you can see it created this file. It has my VIN number in it with a .ab. It's this one right here. So now that we have that, so we have everything we need. We have our application, our cable, we have our as-built spreadsheets, and we downloaded and saved our as-built data or our default data. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all this information, take the application, the cable, we're going to go outside to our truck. And I think what we'll do is we will change something we're just looking at. We're going to change that chime, the driver's side seatbelt chime. Now, I always wear my seatbelt. I'm not saying don't wear your seatbelt. We like this because lots of times we're in an RV park. We may, if we're a pretty good ways away from a dumpster, we need to empty out some garbage. I might just throw the garbage in the back of the truck, run down to the dumpster, and throw it away. I'm not going to put my seatbelt on inside an RV park, and I just really don't want to listen to those chimes. So that's just one example, but there's so many things you can do with FORScan, and we'll talk about a couple of these. But right now, I think we're good inside here. So let's go out to the truck and change some settings. All right, now we got all the setup stuff complete. We're in our vehicle. I'm going to show you how to, what we're going to do is just disable the driver's side chimes, the seatbelt chimes. I'm going to show you two ways of doing that. First thing we have to do while we're out here, we have to connect our cable to our port down here, the OBD connector. The other side of the cable is going to our laptop through a USB port. We got that all set up. I am going to turn the ignition on. I'm not actually running the I'm not actually starting the engine. It's just in the on position, so that's good. So all our accessories are on. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and open up our FORScan application. And if you remember, the very first thing we're going to do is click this connect to vehicle button. It's in the very bottom left. Now what's going to happen when I click this, we'll get through some little warnings here. And we don't want to do that. It is actually going out right now and reading all of our modules, kind of getting an understanding of the vehicle. I've done this a few times. That's why you've seen some other pop-ups in here, is wanting me to go back to something that I read earlier. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to pretend this is the very first time doing this. Now, while this is doing this, if you remember in the beginning of the video, we backed up one of our modules, I think it was the BCD module, if I remember correctly. It's supposed to back up everything that I'm aware of, but something I like to do as well is I like to back up individual modules. Any modules that I am making a change to, I want to back up separately. The reason for this is if I'm only going to make modifications in one module, I don't want a chance overriding all of my modules. I only want to override the one module. I'll show you how to do that as well. We are not going to save this. So now FORScan has read our vehicle information. What we want to do is we are going to go down to this little microprocessor looking icon. And I'm going to show you a couple spreadsheets here, a couple as-built spreadsheets. This is what we're going to do today. Disable the driver's side seatbelt chime. This is one spreadsheet. Again, you can see it's in the IPC module at this address, 720-01-01. And I downloaded a second spreadsheet just for confirmation purposes. Same thing, driver seatbelt chime disable, IPC module, address 720-01-01. And same thing, we're changing this second set of numbers, the third number in the second set of numbers to a number 2. Okay, so we have that. So now what we have to do is from here, we're on this little icon here. We have to look for the IPC module. See if we can find it. There we go. And this, again, remember, these are as-built spreadsheets. So this is how you would do it with as-built spreadsheets. We're going to click on that. Now we have to read this module. A little bit of a warning here. Again, this is not the preferred way of doing it, but I did want to show you how to do it. Now, before we do anything, any changes at all, I'm going to back this up. So I can come down here and just do save all. It's going to give us some information and just hit OK. And now we're done. So now we have a backup of the original settings. We can always go back to those. So remember our as-built spreadsheet, we were looking for address 720.01.01, the second set of numbers, which would be in here. And we wanted to change this third number in here to a 2. So all we would do is type in a 2 here and click write. It's as simple as that. Again, this is not the preferred way of doing it, so I'm not going to do it this way. However, it's we could have, it just takes a minute. I want to show you the preferred way of doing it. Now, the preferred way doesn't always have all the options available to you, so sometimes you do have to come in this way. That's why I kind of want to show it to you. So now that we're out of here, I am going to stop this. It kind of disconnects from this module. You can kind of think of it that way. We will go back to configuration and programming. Now we're going to come down to, again, this is still the IPC module, but you'll notice it does not have the as-built format in it. Okay, so we're going to go to this IPC module, click run. Again, it just ran, it got all the information from our module. Now what we want to do is to disable the driver's side seatbelt chime. So we have to find, I believe it's chimes. Here we go. So here we have driver's belt minder. You can see right now it's enabled. So what I want to do is disable that. I'm going to come down here to where it says edit selected. Click on that. We are going to disable it. Hit OK. Now we haven't done anything yet. We have to write this. We have to write this new setting to our module. So we will do right here. And it's just asking for this as just a confirmation message one last time to make sure you're doing what you think you're doing. And we're going to hit OK. You might not be able to see it. My dashboard kind of went blank and then came back again. It's basically right into the module and kind of just reset everything. You can see right now here, we're going to have to turn the ignition off and then back on, and everything will be done. That is really it. It's that simple. Again, I am not telling you to do this. I just want to show you some options that are out there. There's a lot of really cool options you can do. If you remember some in the Fords anyways, if you leave your key in the ignition, I do this a lot, like when I'm pumping diesel. I'll just leave my keys in here, but as soon as I shut my door, I get a couple dings. I could disable that. You can set up your lights if you want your fog lights running. They have something called Bambi mode. bring your mirrors in automatically when you lock a door. There's a lot of things you can do. Hopefully you notice those running across the bottom of the screen of the video. Those were some options. Again, this is for a Ford. Different vehicles will have different options, but it's just hopefully, just something to be aware of. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully it gives you some ideas and some possibilities you can do with your tow vehicle. Remember, always live life to the fullest.